What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the questions where you have the questions and I have the answers. And now we're going to talk about the Seventh Amendment, which actually, fun fact, is one of the only amendments never to have been broken and never to have been discussed within the Supreme Court because it's just so straightforward. The Seventh Amendment basically says that any court case above a certain amount of money automatically gets a jury or has the right to a jury. I guess you could deny one if you didn't want one, but yeah, I think the original sum was somewhere between like $8 to $12, which obviously account for inflation, it's a lot more than that. But that's the gist of it: is if it's any court case above a certain amount of money, you get a jury, or you have the right to a jury. Uh, this was really short, so maybe we should just throw in the Eighth Amendment as well because it hasn't even reached a minute, and because it's such an easy amendment. Wish all the amendments were like that, but we can't have that. Anyway, the Eighth Amendment is no cruel or unusual punishment, meaning they cannot torture you. And by they, I mean the government. Once again, these protect you from the government, not from other people. Even like the police or like federal investigators cannot torture you in any inhumane way. And there's been so much discourse around this about what qualifies as torture, what counts as a cruel or unusual punishment. And you could see through history people have gone back and forth on what this is, whether the death penalty is humane, whether it's humane, and just the waiting period, being on death row is the inhumane part. Maybe that's cruel and unusual, but not the actual killing. Maybe the method of killing is too inhumane. Maybe is solitary confinement inhumane? Is that a cruel and unusual punishment? And actually, it was qualified as a type of psychological torture during the 1800s. It didn't become a thing again in America until I think like the early 70s was when we brought back solitary confinement because it had been proven to cause psychological damage on the people inside. And yeah, so it's a big debate, especially like what kind of people can get the death penalty as well, because I think there was a law somewhere, which we know I think was like one of the Carolinas didn't follow, was that you can't, people who are like mentally disabled cannot receive the death penalty because they just don't understand what they're doing and therefore could have a false conviction and we could be killing someone who's innocent. I know we have sent kids to death row before. It's a long, ongoing debate. I think maybe as complex as the Second Amendment debates, or at least as old, because people think of new ways to torture people every year. People think of new ways that things could be used as torture every year, and it's a long, long, hard debate about what actually qualifies as torture. What is if torture is one thing to someone, is that same type of torture to somebody else? It really it's confusing. And it's there's not a lot really to go off of, on a historical basis. But I think our Eighth Amendment is what inspired Norway's prison system because they don't really have, well, their prisons are like really, really nice and they're really more rehabilitation centers than actual prisons. Instead of punitive punishment, they actually go and, teach them how to go back into society, which is why they have a very, very low reincarceration rate. And they said that they base it off of no cruel or unusual punishment, and they see prison and punitive justice as a cruel and unusual punishment, which I think is very, very interesting. We interpreted those words very, very differently as countries. Yeah, but also it can be just a sentence length, like if someone has weed and that's what they're arrested for, how long can their sentence be, and is that a cruel or unusual punishment, Are we allotting punishment that is equal to the thing that earned the punishment? We don't know. This is all up for debate. There is no one line with that because there is no one line of punishment. There's no one line of breaking the law. Every case is different, and we try and make, you know, a formulated plan and a formulated rule book on how to punish people, but people aren't like that. They aren't all the same. Not every trespass is equal, and not every punishment is equal. And it's, I know, I think you guys should look more into it because it's a very, very interesting and fascinating history, but also a very, very sad one. Uh, so yeah, that's the Seventh and Eighth Amendment. I hope you all have a fantastic day, week. If you go to my school, it is the first day of the last quarter. We are almost done. So long, and thanks for all the fish, and be excellent to each other, and party on, dudes.